came into England in 1972 in November, and it was a really cold, foggy morning. And I was 18. To me, it was a new country. It was interesting. I thought, wow, you know. But for him, it was very difficult because he was eight children and my mother, and very difficult. And he became a pauper overnight. My name is Abdul Ghani Ismail. I'm the eldest brother in a family-run business here in Eastern area in Bristol. We have 4 brothers and a sister. We run a family-run specialist food shop. We've been running it over 30 years now. My father, who was a refugee from Uganda, he started it in 1978. I was born in Kenya, near Masai Mara Game Reserve, about 40 kilometers. So my childhood was, funny enough, spent more in Uganda because my father had moved there, and I grew up in a very different environment, you know, having picnics, camping, a lot of game, you know, animals, playing around, fishing. I had a fantastic childhood, really. I was sort of turning 18, and in 1972, Idi Amin, who was a military dictator in Uganda, wanted this money from England, which was promised as a foreign aid for the people and the country, and I think the British government knew that he was going to use it towards buying arms, and they refused, and it got into a heated battle, and in the end he said, well, you look after your own citizens. And we were, being a British colony before, we were always like British citizens. So thousands of us were just kicked out within months out of Uganda. At that time my father was quite well off. He had literally over 200 people working for him, so he was quite successful. And we left under very difficult circumstances because he was quite friendly to the dictator Amin, and in fact Amin and his cronies actually said it in the end that, listen, we can't protect you although you're here. You know, they were getting blood hungry, and things were being robbed from us and all the Asian people. A lot of Asians from different little towns in Uganda were being literally, I would say, transported like goats and sheep, you know, to the airport under security and all that, and they were still being robbed by the soldiers on the way. In fact, we were being flown out of a cargo section of the airport, not the human, as I say. It was terrible, you know, I mean, to be treated like that. And getting out of the airport, we got lost because it was a cargo terminal that had just opened up. It wasn't even ready. And we got lost, and we were taken to an army barracks and stripped down and guns at our head, and I think we would have got shot. And I don't know, for some reason I wanted to take a camera because photography was my hobby. And I bought this camera at 8 times the price in those last few days before Uganda went down. And they couldn't find the camera. I don't know, somehow I hid it because I didn't want to show it to anybody. Had they found that camera, I think we would have got killed. We flew on, I think it was Caledonian Airways, which was one of the Scottish airlines. They don't exist. And we flew over the Alps in Italy, and the pilot sort of announced, you know, you got the Alps mountain. I think it was one of the volcanic mountains, and he says it's on your left, and everybody went on the left because we were all refugees on that plane. And he said, could people sit down because you offset the whole plane, you know. And even eating the food was fantastic because I'd never been in a flight, you know, and you get these little containers, and it was quite funny. My brother even mixed milk powder with orange juice and drank it because someone else was putting it in his tea and he thought it was orange juice. And then we got down at Stansted Airport, and we got all these free clothes, and they were like, you know, clothes given in charity. But to us, you know, we thought this is good. And then we were taken to a camp, which was an I believe it was a US military camp, which was not being used. It was near Minehead in Somerset. And there we were being looked after. So for me as an 18-year-old, I thought this is fantastic, not realizing that really you're facing hardship after that. We had someone that my father knew. I think her name was Margaret, and he knew her in Uganda, and she worked with I believe one of the church organizations. So she was in Bristol area, and she knew we were coming, and she looked after us straight away. And then they found us accommodation in Bristol, and one day we came on a bus from the refugee camp, and I mean, getting out was fantastic, you know, instead of being in a camp. And we saw the Downs and we saw Clifton Bridge, and my father loved it, and he said, well, this is a nice place. A few funny incidences that when we came, we couldn't go into a mini market. In those days, 30 years ago, there weren't any supermarkets. And we wouldn't enter the shop until the door was open. And in winter, you know, until the security guard came up to us and he said, why are you hanging around here? It'd be half an hour or so. And we would say, no, we're actually trying to get in. And he said, no, in England, they don't open the doors. It was fun, mind you, it was fun. At one stage, he was literally sleeping over the shop. We had a little flat, and he would work at 7 in the morning till 1:30 at night when the taxi drivers finished. So he saw the hard part, and my mother helped him quite a bit. But I wish if he was alive today, he would be very proud that we've grown a lot bigger now. I mean, he had 1 or 2 staff. In the end, he had about 5 or 6 staff. And since losing our father, we stuck together as a family. The 4 brothers have joined, the wives have joined, my sister also has joined us. Today we're going well over 40 with part-time staff, and I have not counted the children yet. So it's good in a way. Luckily now that most of our children, they've been to university, they've got their degrees. And unfortunately the credit crunch has come, and it's not that easy to find jobs. So hence you saw them downstairs, they're all serving, and they're doing a fantastic job.
1, 2, 3, go on, that's it. I know.
Recently we've acquired the deli next door, where we're baking fresh bread, we're making Indian snacks, we're doing olives. We will have weekends where we'll have Malaysian food, African food. We do about over 8,000 spices and goods in the shop. I mean, for example, we do Mediterranean spices, and this is not just Mediterranean. It's Italian, it's Jordanian, it's Syrian, it's Tunisian, Moroccan. They're different. You know, like you say, oh, I like Indian curry. Even that's changed. Is it North Indian? Is it South? Is it from Kerala? Is it from, you know, Rajasthan? So things have changed, and with the air travel getting cheaper, people travel a lot. So when they come back, they want that particular dish from that region, and that's where we fit in. My own experience out of the 4 brothers and my sister, I think we hardly talk about Uganda. We had fantastic times, but you know, if something bad happens, it leaves a bad taste. And then 10 years after that, I went back to Uganda, and I couldn't believe how the country had been run down. I mean, I went to our shop, and I couldn't believe for 10 years, not a lick of paint had been put on there. I mean, I went and saw the school that I used to learn in, and it's like a war-torn, empty shell kind of. I mean, it just brings bad feeling, and I don't think I want to go back either. My father never went, never. Hard as it might seem, we've literally forgotten it. It was nice to see Mum, and it's nice to see her, and my dad would have been quite proud. But otherwise, everything's gone quite well. It's hard work, but I'm really glad so many people have turned up, and the weather's nice, and it's been quite a happy occasion. And I also must thank the family also for working so hard. They've been working last night, they've been working early in the morning, and we've had a good turnabout, and it's wonderful. I can just more sort of thank the people of Bristol for being loyal to us. I have to thank the family also, my mother, my brothers. There are difficulties all the time, but I think we've survived, and we will carry on. But we want to be that one interesting family-run business in Bristol to be talked about, not another corporate business. We want to be known. You can survive no matter how hard the times are, but you've got to be willing to change.